Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see you, and if you're joining me on video, thank you very much. Lovely to have you with us. We're doing our Chen style class today, but I wanted to talk to you very briefly about chronic pain and specifically arthritic, which means inflammatory pain. Over the years, especially as we get older and living in a wet climate, an awful lot of my students have inflammatory pain issues with arthritis in various limbs. Often it's joints, but actually personally I also seem to experience arthritis and have since a child, though it didn't impede me much at all until more recently. And I tend to get it in soft tissues as well as in my joints. So I think it was sort of brewing before this, but as of last October, I've had an injury in my elbow. Now I have hypermobility, which probably doesn't help. So everything bends beyond where it should. I have it in my elbows and my knees. But I think really from being a carer and from helping my dad, who is heavy, lifting him constantly, and with circumstances behind that he's scared of falling, so he's resisting even though he wants help up. So not only am I lifting someone who's heavier than I am, a lot heavier than I am, but also there's their strength, his strength that's pulling against. And so I'd really done quite the number on my forearm and elbow, and it has not healed. It has not got better. It has improved a bit, but I've been blasting everything I could think of at it, and it was not improving. But I have come up with a strategy that seems to be hugely working, and so I wanted to share it with you. So we've talked about various things that we can do for inflammation, for arthritis, in the past. So, you know, your bioearthing and your alkaline diet, and your wrapping leaves of cabbage, your Savoy cabbage, round the affected area, and letting it draw out the inflammation, excuse me, and all sorts of things, arnica ointment, da 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 da. But it wasn't working for me in this instance, and that was very frustrating because I had all these tools at my disposal and it just wasn't doing it. I'm like, what's going on? And so I've started to think, well, maybe it's not what I'm doing, but how I'm doing it that isn't reaping the results. And that seems to be exactly what the issue was, that I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. So I have a earthing blanket, or an earthing mat, you may have heard of it, which is basically a way to connect yourself directly with the earth. So we are living in a world, a sort of, what's the word, human-made world of being insulated from the earth the whole time. We wear shoes which insulate us. We live in buildings which are insulated. There's always a layer between us and the earth. And so our energy builds static. And that static can cause all kinds of issues with inflammation and pain. And so there's this movement of bioearthing, where basically they're saying to people, take your shoes and socks off and stand on the earth for 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day. Or you can get an earthing sheet. So if it's like here, often cold and wet, you can just put this sheet on your bed, which is made of cotton, and it has a silver thread running through it. And the silver thread then has a wire at one end, and you can stick it into your plug in the wall, a socket in the wall, and that has the earthing aspect. So it's just the earthing aspect. There's no electric involved. It just earths the blanket, so anything bare skin touching it is earthed. And I did find that the earthing blanket, I certainly felt something going on with it. With bare skin, I felt a kind of energy, really. So it was negative ions coming into the body and neutralizing this static build-up in my system. but it hadn't affected my arm. It hadn't seemed to help my arm. And so the other night I was thinking to myself, well, what if I wrapped this blanket, it's a sheet basically. What if I wrapped this sheet around my arm directly so it had absolute coverage all night long? And hey presto, when I did that and woke up in the morning, the pain was hugely reduced. It wasn't gone completely, but hugely reduced. And I have been doing that every night since. And I wake up in the morning and I'm literally thanking God. I'm going, oh my God, it's so much better. It's so much better. So amazing, different result. So I would say it's the equivalent, rather than standing barefoot on the earth or lying down barefoot on the earth, it's the equivalent of that game that we sometimes play at the beach where we bury our relations in the sand. So we're actually covering the earth around the area, and so it's all that any static buildup is just dissipating into the earth all the way around. You could do that if you wanted to, but the sheets are not massively expensive. I think my one, which is, you know, kind of that size, it was about £37. You can get a full bed sheet, king size bed sheet, but you're talking about maybe over £100. But actually you just need some surface area in contact with your skin. And this is my technique. I don't know if anyone else does it, but it's using the same principle, but using it in a different way. And I keep saying to myself, if I have any time off, I'm going to take my sheet and plug it in downstairs and just wrap it round me while I'm sitting watching television. Now, of course, you're plugged in, so if you're in bed, you have to be careful if you're getting out in the middle of the night not to trip yourself up, which I have done, or get tangled in the sheet. But you just want the connection with it into the earthing socket. But it has made a world of difference for me, and nothing else was working. I'd been trying to build strength in the arm again by doing kettlebells and various things, because rest wasn't working, and I think it was helping a bit. And the most despondent thing that I was getting was I would lie in bed at night and I would wake up in pain, that the pain would actually be multiplying while I was resting in a neutral position. And that was very frustrating for me, because they often say, well, if something hurts, rest. And resting seemed to actually make it worse. Whereas the earthing sheet, by wrapping it round, making sure it was bare skin in contact with it, plugged in, it has made a world of difference, and I'm going to keep going with that as much as possible. So I highly recommend it. As I say, the principle behind it is just getting your skin contacting with the earth directly, so that there's no insulation between you, so that any static buildup goes away. And it seems to be hugely beneficial to reduce inflammation and hugely beneficial to reduce pain. And you know, once you've bought the sheet, you can unplug it, you can clip off, it's like a popper, you can clip off the bit that goes in the wall and you can throw it in the washing machine. So it's a one-off investment if you do get it, and then you can use it endlessly until maybe the silver thread degrades. And if you're not using, you know, potent cosmetics on it, then it should be fine. Silver does degrade in time, as you know, it tarnishes, but it's as I said, it's a one-off investment, and it's very much worth it. If you've done everything you can think of, just like me, try using your earthing technique, earthing blanket. And as I say, wrapping it around the area seems to be much more potent than just lying on the blanket or on the sheet. And you want skin contact, that wearing clothes or putting the sheet underneath your bed sheet reduces the impact of it hugely, because it wants that direct contact. Think of it like creating a circuit. You want to make that contact so that that excess energy is carried away and earth energy, the negative ions, come in. So something to think about, folks. As I say, I would highly recommend it. It's up to you. If you think it's complete nonsense, no problem. But it's working for me. It is definitely helping. Okay, so let's get up and do some Tai Chi, which is also well known for aiding recovery in everything. So just get rid of my chair. Good. And just like the thing I was saying about earthing, with Tai Chi, it's not necessarily what you do, but how you do it. I might just turn on an extra light here. So our Master Chen talks about levels of deviation or degrees of deviation. We're aiming for perfection in our alignment, in our practice, and Tai Chi is a perfect system, but the human body is not perfect. So we have levels of deviation. And it's not a question of getting it right or doing it wrong, but reducing the degrees of deviation. And the more deviation we can strip away, the more benefits you're going to get. So good posture and relaxation is going to aid hugely in well-being of all kinds, and any deviations in our posture can actually reduce that benefit to the point that we could actually have such a big deviation we can cause issues. So just think of, weightlifting. If you're weightlifting correctly, you're fine. Whereas if you're sticking your bum out or doing some odd alignment thing, you could actually injure yourself just by going through the motions. So let us see if we can reduce deviation down. Let's salute, please. Right hand in fist, left hand straight. We press forwards, lovely, and we relax. We relax the arms down. Let's bring our feet together, please, and lengthen up through the top of the head. The chin slightly down and back, and we release and relax down through the body. Now you might find that by bringing the feet absolutely together, it's very uncomfortable, or you can find that it's making you roll on your feet. So it is acceptable to have a wee gap. Play with it until you find your most comfortable version. Let's take a nice deep breath, feeling the top of the head being drawn up. And as we breathe out, I'd like you to sigh. Sigh the tension away. And let's do it again. We take a deep breath. And like you're sinking into an armchair, sigh the tension away. Lovely. We're going to do it again. This time make the sigh internal. So think of all your structures releasing. Deep breath. And good. So we're releasing, relaxing down through the structures of the body, into the feet and into the floor. One last time. Good. Now that is like a cheat sheet version of Wuji. Wuji, basically we want to stand and listen. And as we breathe, as we wait, or let go of waiting, we're really letting go of the tension in the body. And you might not think that you're tense, but you will have a lifetime's worth of memory of tension stored in your body. And so we want to strip away historical tension and not just what you've been feeling today or in the last week. And all we need for that is patience and good posture. We listen and feel and keep letting go. With each breath, we're releasing down through the structures. Now in Wuji, the legs can actually be locked. Personally, I wouldn't lock them because I have sway back. So my knees are just off the lock. But at this stage, we just simply want to release through the structures rather than bending the knees. Now, I'd encourage you to do up to about 10 minutes of Wuji. which I know feels like a long time. But even 2 or 3 minutes is very good, because we're just, as I say, stripping away the tension and allowing ourselves to arrive present, aware, here and now. So now let's fill the right foot. Let's release belly, hips, and knees. So you might not see a big physical change, but hopefully you'll feel it internally. You're releasing, you're softening, you're sinking. Release belly, hips, knees, and release the lower legs, release the feet. So you're not just stopping with the knees. From here, everything is melting. Fill your right foot, empty your left foot, and step open to the side. Plant your foot and glide into center. Check the feet. We want to make sure that the feet are level, symmetrical. And once you're happy with your stance, return to good posture, lengthening up through the top of the head and the chin slightly down and back. Good. And again, we release and let hang the body in this new position. Notice, is your weight evenly across your feet? We want to make sure that there is 4-corner coverage on both feet, that it's even and that it's sinking into the floor. If there is an issue with the weight distribution in the feet, the entire system will experience that deviation. No matter what part of the body, everything is affected when the foundation is off. So we really want to pay attention to that 4-point coverage. And a temptation to get the 4-point coverage may actually be to come forwards a bit. We don't want that. So we want to just release. We're keeping the top of the head lengthening up. We're releasing the tailbone, relaxing belly, hips, and knees. So actually, can you see it's like my body is sitting slightly behind my heels? This is correct. But you'll probably feel that there is some tension in the ankles. And what we want to do is let go of that tension in the ankles. And what helps with that, if you lengthen your fingers down, all 10 fingers, and gently float the hands forwards and up to level with your solar plexus. That acts as a counterbalance, so that then you can sit comfortably back. Think of that you're standing against a wall and you're filling a wall with your back, with the small of the back. So the weight feels a little bit back, but can you see we want to have a plumb line of the body. The tail hanging down just behind the heels. So the feeling is the weight is going down through the ankles, and then we want to release as we breathe and let go across the feet, so that, like the roots of the tree, the what's that called? The trunk of the tree goes down, the roots spread out. The trunk does not have to sit above the roots spread out and bring the weight down into the earth. And that's what we're wanting. So we're actually sitting a little bit behind the heels, but we concentrate on letting go of the ankles and taking root, so to speak, with the toes. I'd like you to continue to practice this, please, as this practice is your go-to, what's the word, panacea. It's going to help with everything. Everything is aided by standing practice. Not just holding the position, but letting go through it. Breathing, letting the breath guide your awareness into your system, listening into your system, feeling into your system, and letting go. And keep checking that 4-corner coverage with your feet. Now, an interesting phenomenon that happens sometimes in Tai Chi is that as you stand, your chi builds. That's partly what it's for. It's to build your life force. Your life force necessarily will expand your body. It will puff you out. It will have this effect of what we call pung, which means to fill up and expand. And quite often then, by doing that, what happens with your leg structure is the legs are pushed out. So you'll find that they're kind of bowing out, that there's more going on the outside and the inside is being pressed out. And recently, Chen corrected a good few of us for this issue. It's not an issue exactly, but it becomes an issue when we're allowing the qi to blow us out of alignment. So he was coming around and actually rolling our thighs in, and it literally felt like he was making us knock-kneed. It was a very odd sensation, but actually when he did it, within seconds, you could feel that the energy was much more powerful. And it actually corrected a knee issue that I was having because I was doing my standing practice, and then afterwards I went to sit down and my knee would bite. I was like, why is this happening? I'm doing the practice. It was because my practice, the energy was blowing me out of my alignment. It was expanding so much that it was actually taking me out of the stance that was causing the health. And because of that, the deviation caused an issue. So now when I practice, I very mindfully allow myself to actually roll in slightly, or that's how it feels, roll in slightly. So I'm almost more heavy on my arches. That's the feeling, but actually that's bringing me into alignment. So I have to be very careful with that, not to overcorrect, but not to let the energy build. It's good that the energy builds, but not let it blow my structure, not let it push my knees out. So that is something to bear in mind, because you may be diligently practicing and going, why have I got this niggling injury? It may be that the same thing happened to you, and it's happened to several senior students. The same correction was given, that they had to do this. So as you're practicing, you can feel into your legs, feel the structures of your legs. A very useful part is to feel the psoas muscle. So, sorry, not the psoas, the platysma. So from the outside of the hip to the inside of the knee. That's not the platysma, that's the platysma. The psoas, yeah. So you can stand. As you stand, you can feel the front of your legs, feel into them now. Feel the back of your legs, feel into them now. Feel the outside of your legs. Feel into the inside of the legs. And then feel the band that wraps from the outside of the hip to the inside of the knee. Breathe into the structures of your legs and let go. Breathe into your knees themselves, check that they feel happy, and let go. And feel into your lower legs and feet. Make sure if there is a injury or a niggle that you're not just relaxing that area, but you relax everything above it and you relax everything below it so that the energy can flow through it. So don't just focus on relaxing the point of pain, but help everything to work in harmony around it. Good. Okay, so I'm going to leave that with you. Standing practice, as I say, is a panacea. It will help with everything, but we have to work towards reducing deviation so that we get the best out of it. Mindful practice, conscious practice. Well done. Let's release the arms gently down. Let's fill the right foot, empty the left, and close. Good stuff. And recover and heel tap. Excellent. Now, we don't actually often spend a lot of time in this class on standing practice because it feels like we're not doing anything. But this is the important stuff. This is your foundation that everything else builds on. So if we don't do standing practice, or if by not doing it in class you think it's not important, we're really missing a trick. So just because there's no choreography involved doesn't mean that it isn't highly potent and beneficial for your health and your Tai Chi practice. It will help your body know what structure is, where it should be, and it will help build your Chi so that you actually have the stamina and endurance to do the rest of our practice. Good. Okay, folks, so today I would like us to do parts. Let's do parts 2, 3, and 4. I know it sounds a bit weird, but we've been looking at the end of the form. I would like to do parts 2, 3, and 4. Let's see how we get on. If we have time then, we'll maybe have a look at part 1 or do any problem shooting as it arises. Okay, so part 2 in the form begins over at the side, and we start with our 5 steps back. At this stage we have not yet done any cloud hands, so we have all 3 sets of cloud hands ahead of us. I know it's a little bit weird to plop down into a form without starting from the beginning, but this is very good for our mental flexibility, for our neural plasticity. So let's come over, please, to the side. And again, we'll just do a second of Wuji. Now you've done standing, which has bathed your cells in energy, but we're still warming, so give yourself a wee bend and a stretch. Make sure everything feels limber. Maybe in the summer we can get away without doing quite such thorough warm-ups, but we don't want to push it. So I'd like you to step your way gently through the form at this stage. Don't force it, no deep stances, nice and high. As Grandmaster Chen says, soup. We're going to do soup as opposed to pasta or pizza. No heavy work today. Let's lengthen up, please, through the top of the head, chin down and back, release, relax down. And get ready, standing on the right, filling your back as you fill your hands, relax to center. And rotate, right hand over, left hand over. On the left side, we stretch to heaven and earth and relax fist under elbow. Release for our 5 steps back. Good. Relax to center. Turn the ball. Cross and lift and stamp. Prepare. Punch. 4 corners ward off. High pat on horse. And relax to center. Okay, so now we have our kicking section. We gather and we roll down to the left. Left side steps across, and we sink down and lift the arms and kick. We step, turn, sink down and kick. Straight away, arms up, foot comes behind, and we turn. Gather and lift, making fists, turn palms, pull back toes and kick to the side. 3 steps to the left. Punching the earth, we turn to the right. Right foot comes around, up and over. Monkey holds peach. Keep going. So we step and swing, step and hip, step down, step back, palm facing out. We step forwards and protect the heart. Fist under elbow. Good. Release. Gather. Turn. And kick. Toy soldier. Turn. 3-way punch. And step. Prepare. Relax to center. Punch. That's the end of part 2. Part 3, let's just flow through. I have to turn a little further to fit it into the space. Good. Jade Maiden plays shuttles. Three steps, turn on the third. Lands up. Just had a little bit of a 19-step experience. And single whip. Good. Second cloud hands. Seesaw. And golden cockerel stands on one leg. This is a step to the side, but I need a little bit more space, so I'm going back. Good, and this is your part 4. This time we roll the arm in and flick, stamp and prepare. Punch. 4 corners, ward off. And I always need more room. And your last set of cloud hands. Yeah. Turn to the back. High pat on horse. And relax to center. So now we have the end game. We're going to do our roll. A little gather to the left and turn to the right. This is your special punch down. When you're setting up, make sure you're sitting back rather than front loading on your knees. Sit back, relax down, and punch. Gather, uppercut, and step. Good. Now we have wrap in fists. Release your chest. And right up, left down. Turn. Kick the back foot up. Step down. Keep your structure. And we're going to spin right shoulder back, up and over, into left. Kick. Step back. Gather and throw it out. And relax down. Expand. And come through. Jinggang exits the temple. Hammer punch. Seal in your good energy. Point to the floor, release. Fill right. Close left. Beautiful. Well done, everyone. I'm going to pause the video for a sec. I'm going to give you a chance to have a comfort break. Good. Okay. So, how did we do? Now, Elaine, I think I saw you having technical problems with your computer, but you managed to stay with us. Well done. Yes. Any comments? Yes, Eric. Oh, we're still muted. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I found it quite difficult. As best I can, and hopefully it's better.
Oh, hold on, I hear you both at the same time. Sorry, can we just check with Eric first? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I found it quite difficult
For next week. It just keeps freezing.
Oh, Elaine, right, okay. Not to worry. Well, at least we have the recording, so you can check with that. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Eric. Yes, you found something difficult?
Yeah, I found or whenever you put pressure onto your right side, onto the right knee,
Hmm.
right leg. Yeah, I found it difficult with the knee and I found I lose concentration as well on what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. When there is pain, it really puts the cat among the pigeons from the point of view of training. It's very difficult to ignore. It's doable, but the thing is, should you be ignoring it? My answer would be no. So if you're doing your best and it's still hurting to the point that it's distracting you, what I would do, Eric, is chair Tai Chi. So I would take a chair and sit down. So you're just taking that pain out of the equation and you can visualize doing what you're not actually physically doing. So I would argue that you're not necessarily helping your knee to heal if you're continuously hurting it as you're trying to train. Now, there are different schools of thought on this. Like at one stage, one of my masters of old was working with a fella who had slipped and broken something in his knee. So the back of his leg was actually, there was some wee bone was broken, and he was in a lot of pain. But he just kept training. He just kept pushing himself through. And I remember my master saying, "This is kung fu. This is what you do, you just push on through regardless." That would be, I would consider that to be the sort of Shaolin attitude, the sort of external martial artists attitude, maybe more than the internal attitude. But it's just my way of looking at it. It's the fire method, it's power on regardless. Whereas honestly, I think pain is an indicator that something's wrong. And if you ignore the pain or you subdue the pain with painkillers, heaven forbid, you're killing the messenger, but you're not killing the thing that the messenger is trying to tell you about. So if there's a battalion of soldiers coming and the messenger comes to say there's a battalion coming and you shoot the messenger, it's not actually going to change the fact that the battalion is still coming. So pain is actually our friend. Believe it or not, pain is an antagonistic friend. It is saying something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong, and that means that you do something about it. That can mean adapting what you do, so higher stances, smaller steps. It could mean doing more, what's the word, remedial work, as in standing practice, and, massage, like having your legs up, um, wrapping your earthing sheet round you. Or it could mean leaving out that aspect of practice altogether. So if you're doing seated Tai Chi, you're still circulating your Chi. You're still getting more Chi into your legs because you're getting more Chi flowing around your whole body, which will help the legs recover, but it will remove the niggle. You stop poking the bear long enough for the bear to start to get its mood in order. Do you know what I mean? So much as the fire method of just carry on regardless, that is a method, it's not my method and I wouldn't recommend it. And I say it's not my method, I'm working with an injury, every day, but I'm not having to put my weight on my elbow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have just eradicated pushing hands from my practice because it was pushing hands that initially brought the problem forwards. And if you do pushing hands correctly, it should be very gentle, very light, but it takes two to tango. So you need two people to understand that it should be very gentle and very light. And I was working with beginners, and the beginners were pushing. They were pushing too hard. Pushing hands should be so soft and so gentle that it's not pushing, it's feeding. You're feeding into the other person, and then you're absorbing their energy. So doing 3 hours of pushing hands with a dicky elbow was enough to really exacerbate a problem that was already there. So my advice is, I know you want to be up and doing, I would get yourself a chair and do a wee bit of Tai Chi in the chair. Visualize what you can't physically do comfortably, and you will get the benefits. Your nervous system, the neural net, is still sending messages to the muscles. The muscles are still twitching in response, so they're still being fed and nourished with energy, but you're not exacerbating it by continuously poking the bear, as I say, by continuously aggravating an area that's saying that it's sore. So we might do a wee bit of seated Tai Chi to finish, actually. But anyway, Elaine, you were saying that it was cutting out on you? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know it's very frustrating. Sometimes, I don't know, the internet fairies just don't play ball with
I
us.
know.
So,
It's a new internet and it's supposed to be better and it was good last week, but it's just saying it's unstable, so I don't know.
yeah, it happens
I'll
with,
maybe try my tablet next week instead of the computer.
yeah, that's grand. But, nil desperandum, at least you'll have the recording that you can refer.
Sorry, I followed some of it, but I just couldn't
I couldn't see it.
follow at all because you kept raising.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Luckily, as far as I am aware, it's okay on this end,
So
which means the
thank you anyway.
recording.
And sorry, it's a
Yeah,
bit of a
no
pain.
problem at all. These, this is one of the experiences that one gets with doing internet classes. It's just part of the whole experience. Let's grab a chair, folks. For the last few minutes, we're going to do a little bite of seated Tai Chi so that you can experience it with me. Because it's one thing for me to say, just sit down and do it with me. It's another thing to really understand what that entails. So grab a chair, please, if you haven't already. Good. You still want a bit of space around you. Okay, so let us have a look at the beginning of the form now. Just for the joy of doing it, we're going to look at the first 18 steps or so of the form. So we bring our feet together and we lengthen up. Now, seated practice is a little bit different. I would encourage you to sit towards the end of your chair. Just be careful not to fall off. And for heaven's sakes, use a chair with legs and not wheels, because wheels would make an unstable foundation. So we're all about strong foundations. So plant your feet to the floor and lengthen up. The chin slightly down and back. Sigh the tension away. And again, deep breath. And sigh the tension away. Exactly the same postural corrections as we do when we're standing. Now we're going to open our stance, and because we're seated, open both feet so that you're not, going to the left. You can't do that. So just open your feet. Good. We're going to float up, breathing in, and relax down to center, breathing out. Good. Now I'm facing you, so I'm going to mirror you, okay, to make it easier. So release to your left, to scoop to the right. Release to the right, to turn to your left. And you'll notice that when you're seated, you can turn a lot less because your hips are planted. So don't turn as much. Less is more when you're seated. You can release your right foot and just bring it slightly forwards, just to indicate the step. Release, relax down, and expand forwards. Open. Bring your right foot back a little bit because you want it underneath you, and bring your left foot onto the tip of the toe. Good. So we lift up into fist, relax down. You're visualizing the full practice up and down. Release, separate, and turn, and gather. Now I've done something wrong there. Yeah. Relax, take a breath. Sorry. As I forgot to mirror. But you can see what I'm getting at, can you? That you can do it all seated. You don't have to stand in order to do your Tai Chi. So let's do some seated silk reeling for the last few seconds of class so that I don't rack my brains before breakfast. I didn't have time for breakfast. Yeah, so again, back to shoulder width and level, lengthen up, relax down, and let's take your right hand to waist, release the left hand, extend it forwards. So again, less is more when you're seated, a little turn of the waist, turn the palms, feet across, shoulder, elbow, hands, fingertips, release, and back to center, full twist up. I'd like you to have a play with it. Seated work. Good. And that's my trusty alarm saying, stop teaching Jane. Last time, I'll turn it off in a second. Good, and relax down. Let's take a nice deep breath. I'll turn off my alarm. That means that the clock in the room is actually a little bit slow, so there you go. Good. So do you see what I mean? By just taking the weight off your legs, you can still do the movements. Grandmaster Chen teaches, well, I haven't seen him doing this for a few years now, but he does teach that you should stand before you begin your form and go through the entire form in your head, as in visualizing each position, each movement, the direction that you're going. You visualize the whole thing before you even begin. And you'll see sometimes when we did that, you'd see people kind of, doing this, that they couldn't stop their bodies from moving a little bit as they were visualizing the movements. But this is a very useful skill. It's a very useful technique that actually a lot of athletes use, especially when they're in recovery. So you think of an Olympic athlete, they can't afford to miss months of training because they've dislocated something or torn something, but they can't physically do it. So a very potent, useful way to aid continuous training while not exacerbating an issue, allowing the issue to heal, is to visualize your practice. You can do it, as I say, seated, so you're partially doing it and visualizing the rest, or you can literally go through the movements in your mind. And it's not a cop-out, it's actually a very challenging practice because you've no physical reminder of where you are when you get lost. You have to do it all in your mind, but it's very useful for keeping our brains healthy and strong, very useful for keeping choreography in our head, and it's very useful for continuing that mind-body coordination interplay. And it feeds our muscles. Where your mind goes, your energy follows, and where your energy goes, your strength follows. So if you can't physically do it in comfort, I recommend that you visualize doing it easily, comfortably, perfectly. Visualize perfect practice, and you'll find that when you go to do the practice, it's much improved. It is very much a practice of champions to do that. So folks, I hope you have enjoyed your practice today. It is a learning curve when we are working with an injury. Sometimes it is necessary to keep going and keep doing things like active recovery rather than just stopping. I don't recommend you just stand still until everything heals. As I say, my arm actually is worse when it rests. When I'm not using it, when I'm lying in bed, it just gets worse and worse until I wrap the earthing sheet around it. So movement is good, but don't move through pain. Don't keep forcing yourself to actively push through pain. I don't think that is a particularly useful method. So thank you so much for joining me, folks. Let's finish off with a little shake out. Cover center, please. Relaxing into your belly and breathe for a moment. And feel your energy is stronger. Thank you. Let's finish please do consider having a play with an earthing sheet. You can get them on Amazon, really quite affordable. Have a shop around if you're interested, or just go out and sit on the earth, lie on the earth, go to the beach and get whatever body part it is that's troubling you on the sand. Might help. Thank you very much. See you next time. Thank you.